All right, today we're taking a look at Captain Marvel, number 54 from Captain America and the Avengers set. She's been seeing a ton of play. All kinds of good players have good strategies, and today I'm going to walk you through some of her high points and a team build that I like to use her on, and we'll run through a couple scenarios with that team build. First, let's take a look at her keywords. She has Alpha Flight, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Kree, Cosmic, and Soldier. So Avengers is a pretty good one with a ton of options. Cosmic is a good team also, although it is a generic, but you can work her onto some good meta Cosmic teams. And the one we're going to be doing today is going to actually use the Soldier keyword. Her first trait is Assembled Avengers. Once per turn, when Captain Marvel hits, after resolutions, you may roll a d6. On a 5 or 6, if your force has 3 or more friendly characters with the Avengers keyword, remove an action token from Captain Marvel or give an action token to a hit target. If your force has 6 or more, do both. So again, that's after she hits. So she can tack that on. She hits an attack, then she has the chance of giving out a token or removing a token. So that's pretty good. Her second trait is Free. Once per game, generate a Chewie bystander. With it being a free action to do that, you have a bunch of different options of where that can plug into a game. We'll take a look at Chewie in just a second. And her special movement power, Higher, hypersonic speed. When Captain Marvel uses it, after resolutions, deal 1 penetrating damage to an opposing character she moved through. If that character is a vehicle, deal it 3 penetrating damage instead. So that's always great. Hypersonic is a great ability on the start clicks anyway. But then to be able to ping for an additional 1 penetrating with her long movement values is super good. And you'll see that how that comes into play today. She has one more special power on her defense, and it is a stop click with Invincible and Protected Outwit. Once per game, she can generate Chewie for free. Chewie is pretty darn good on its own with a 6 movement, special movement that has Flurry, Plasticity, Giant Reach 2. Blades as the attack power with a 10 super senses, 17 defense, 1 damage with Perplex. So Flurry Blades is a great combination. Since Chewie has blades, that 1 damage, it doesn't really matter anyway. I would use the Perplex to perplex up her attack, and Flurry Blades to try to land some solid attacks. Plasticity, which makes her a good tie-up piece, or able to move away if you choose to use her that way. And super senses to give her a chance to evade attacks. The set comes with the Dyson token set comes with Chewie as a token. Looks pretty nice. All right, as you can see on the back of her card, she has the Avengers team ability. She has 2-point values, 150 and 95. Today we're going to be using her at the 150 value, but the 95 is pretty solid also. At 150, she comes in with 9 clicks, starting with that special hypersonic on her first 2 with a 12 movement, 7 range, single target. 12 attack, 18 defense, and a 4 damage with prob. If you use her at her 95 value, she has the 10 movement with that special hypersonic, 11 attack, 18 defense, and a 3 damage with prob. Overall, she has solid attack values, mostly 12s and 11s. She has 2 10s buried in there on click 6 and 7, but for the most part, 11 and 12, which are great. Her defense is 18s with 2 17s towards the end, but then she ends with an 18. The big thing there, of course, is the 3 stop clicks with invincible on each one. She has reducers then throughout her dial, so every click of defense has a reducer with it, and 3 stops. So she was super hard to get through. The build we're going to look at today is without any additional equipment, just how she functions as a character. But you put some equipment on there, giving her some chances to heal or add some support onto the team. She has a very tough dial to get through on its own, and then if you add anything on top of that, it makes it extremely difficult. Her damage values do not go below a 3, basically 3 throughout, but she does have 3 perplexes on her that coincide with her stop clicks, so you have the ability to bump up that defense, her attack value, or her damage, and she has 3 instances of prob throughout her dial, most notably on her first 2 starting clicks. So if you start her at 150, she has that prob, and if you start her at 95, she has the prob. With the 11s and 12s, hopefully you won't need the prob to land your attack, so it will come in handy to make her tough to counterattack against. I think her sculpt looks pretty good. The team build we're going to look at today is going to team up Captain Marvel with John Stewart. They both have the soldier keyword. Let's take a look at John Stewart's card. The LE John Stewart comes with the Green Lantern Corps keyword, Justice League, and Soldier. He has 1 trait, Green Lantern of Sector 2814, Phase and Teleport. When John Stewart uses it, he may carry friendly characters with the flight symbol if they share a keyword with him. His special defense power is Barrier, Toughness. Barrier as free, but only if John Stewart has 2 action tokens. Friendly characters adjacent to his barrier markers can use energy shield deflection. Let's take a look at the back of his card. He has the Green Lantern team ability, comes in at 75 points, starts with a 9 movement run-in shot with 11 attack, 17 defense, and 3 damage with leadership. He has an 8 range single target. Later in his dial, you see he has sidestep, precision strike, toughness. He has some shape change in there and some range combat expert. The defense value is not going to matter too much to us because we are going to try to keep him protected behind that barrier and free barrier. So he's going to operate as a taxi, as a barrier piece. If need be, he can land some attacks. He has the leadership to try to pull tokens off of the main attacker, which is going to be Captain Marvel. Today I'm going to walk you through a team build that I like to use with Captain Marvel and John Stewart. Stewart's coming in at 75 points. Marvel's coming in at 150, which brings it to 225. Leaves you 75 points of all kinds of other stuff you can do to support this team. But I would just want to take you through the core dynamics of how these two operate, how I use them to work off of each other's strengths. I think it's already a strong team. Once you utilize that extra 75 points, you can add all kinds of good stuff on there also. Today, they're going to go against Jackal and Sandman way down there. Those two don't know what they've gotten themselves signed up for here today. We're going to pick this up a round in. So Jackal Sandman moved up a few squares to get into position or to get equipment or for whatever reason. Stewart and Marvel have had one turn. Stewart carrying Marvel up to the higher elevation that she's on now, and he is sitting on one token. Okay, we'll assume that the opponent's team clears, and then we'll pick it back up here with Marvel's second turn. So as you remember, Captain Marvel has the hypersonic speed on her top click. Green Lantern has phase and teleport. When he uses it, he can carry friendly characters with the flight symbol if they share a keyword. Since they share a keyword, that's how he carried her up here. Now on this turn, I would start with Marvel using her hypersonic as one option. We'll walk through a couple options today. Okay, on this scenario, we are going to use her hypersonic. We'll move her 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll move her 8 squares down here, and she will take a shot. On hypersonic, remember, you half your range, then she can move, attack, and then move the remainder of whatever is left of her movement. So she's moved her 8 squares to take the shot on either Sandman or Jackal. Sandman has shape change, so she has some options here of who, if she goes for Sandman, he rules out. She could go for Jackal. She'd be swinging on a 17 or a 17. Sandman, of course, with shape change and super senses. Jackal with combat reflexes. Marvel would be swinging with a 12. So if she went for Jackal, she'd only need a 5 to hit. Okay, we won't walk through all the rules, the dice rules. We'll just focus on how the positioning could work. Okay, so she'll be up there. We would assume she'd hit somebody. She could then free action once per game to generate Chewie. She could put Chewie right here. Then Chewie could attack with the flurry blades, could perplex up its attack value and go to town on those 2 enemies. If they are still standing afterwards, after that flurry blades combo, then John Stewart could move up. He is still back here with a 9 movement and flight. He could move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We could put him right here next to Marvel. Okay, since he's moved, he'll get his second action token. And his defense power is barrier, toughness, barrier as free, but only if he has 2 action tokens. Friendly characters adjacent to the markers can use energy shield deflection. So since he has 2 tokens, he will free barrier. He will barrier off himself and Marvel, leaving Chewie out there with plasticity and tying up those 2 characters. Now, whatever happens on the opponent's turn, we can assume that maybe they KO Chewie. The barrier would go away. Okay, so the opponents have KO'd Chewie. Now it's back to Marvel and Stewart's turn. Now on Captain Marvel's turn, she could hypersonic, moving or taking the shot right from where she's at on the Jackal. We'll assume that she hits and KOs him. She can then do the second part of her hypersonic to move through Sandman and basically place anywhere, but we'll just keep her right here close. Since it's not an attack or a hit on her special higher power, and that's the one where when she uses hypersonic, she can just, after resolutions, deal 1 penetrating damage to a character she moved through, an opposing character. So she would just deal damage there, getting past the shape change super senses. And it would be 1 penetrating. So if there was any reducer except for invincible, she would still be able to deal that damage. Okay, she then would get an action token. Now you might think, well, the turn's done, but remember, this is what some people overlook. John Stewart currently has 2 tokens, so he can use barrier as free again before he clears. So we would throw up that barrier. You could pin Sandman in there, then clear Stewart. Okay, and then you would just work your way through the remaining characters, again using Stewart as the mobility piece and doing the leadership, trying to take tokens off of Marvel. Okay, let's take a look at another scenario with this team. So same setup. The previous turn, Stewart took the token to carry Marvel. This turn, let's take a look at what can happen if we want to preserve her with no tokens. Stewart can use her to carry again. He could move up to 8 with phase and teleport, carrying 1 person since he has a movement of 9. So let's take him. We'll take him less than that because we'll get everything in the frame. He'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll go right here. Get in his second action token to do that. Place a Marvel in the hindering. Now, since her generation of Chewie is free, even though she was carried, she could generate Chewie right now in the block of hindering right here. In addition to the flurry, plasticity, perplex, and blades, you'll remember Chewie also has giant reach too. So it can flurry from right where it's at. It could perplex up its attack, flurry into these 2 guys right there. If they're still standing, Stewart then, since he has 2 tokens, can throw out his barrier. And section that area off. Let's take a look at one more way that this team can be used. So Captain Marvel again has that hypersonic. We will use it this time to run through Sandman and take a shot at Jackal. So she has an 11 movement with hypersonic, or a 12 movement with hypersonic. She would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She could take the shot from right there. Taking the shot on Jackal. After taking that shot on Jackal, she would still have 6 movement left. We'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Place her right there. We could then throw out free action, throw out Chewie. Chewie could make the giant reach flurry blades attack, as we talked about in the other scenario. If they were still standing, then John Stewart could run in shot to try to finish one off. Since Chewie's small, we could just run in shot right here and take the shot on either one, whoever's left. Then we could put up that barrier, since he would then have 2 action tokens. And we could use the barrier to section this off again. So hopefully this video gives you some ideas on how you can team build with Marvel or John Stewart. They're both great characters. I like them on their own, and when combined, they can be super effective. Stewart's mobility, his barrier and free barrier are outstanding, and Captain Marvel has such great movement and the ability to throw out that free bystander who is solid on its own. It's just a great team. So let me know what you think in the comments down below and how you like to use these two characters. All right, thanks for watching today.
Check it out. If you dig what we do, go ahead and like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.